In 1842, the New Hampshire Asylum for the Insane first opened its doors. At that time, the asylum consisted of the present center of the main building, plus the north and south wings adjoining. The Fisk Wing is named for Miss Catherine Fisk, who was principal of a young ladies' school in Keene, New Hampshire. She is described as possessing a large heart, good sense, high culture, and benevolent impulses. The Kimball Wing is named for Mr. Jacob Kimball of Hampstead, New Hampshire, a philanthropist who left a legacy to the asylum. The Chandler Wing was added to the asylum in 1849 and named for its first superintendent, Dr. George Chandler. A legacy left to the asylum by the Countess Rumford in 1853 created the Rumford Wing. She was the daughter of Benjamin Thompson, who was knighted in England and made a count of the Holy Roman Empire. Charles H. Peasley was a representative in the New Hampshire State Legislature for many years before the opening of the asylum. He was an advocate in securing the establishment of the asylum and was a member of the Board of Trustees from 1841 to 1848. Moody Kent donated $140,000 to the asylum in 1866. The Kent Building and Annex, on the south side of the main building, bear his name. His memorial states, "He had great gentleness of heart. We are rejoiced and proud to say that Moody Kent has erected a monument of glory that shall be known and enjoyed for many ages."
Lights go out and you're in the tunnels, you just wander and feel a wall to find some way of getting out, because when the lights do go out in the tunnels, it's pitch black. There's absolutely no light.
Has that happened to anyone?
It happened to me once.
Was it like a blackout?
Yes, it was total darkness, and the only thing I could do is hold my hand out in front of me to make sure I wasn't going to walk into something, because I had no idea which direction I was going.
The scariest thing is definitely, particularly in the areas that a few of the light bulbs are out. It's in the middle of the winter. You're tripping through, so all the heat's going through the old pipes, and they just bang and rattle. And sometimes you swear to God someone's taking a pipe to them and just banging the pipes, and they feel, like the natives are getting restless. It'd be almost like a Halloween movie, your own version of it. The noises, if you don't know the nature of them and you've gone through with no reference to the place, it'll scare you to death, because you have to use your imagination, and these sounds are so unfamiliar. But walking them for all these years, you turn it around and get great comfort. You want to hear those noises.
This tunnel, I don't know the exact date, but it was probably put in the late 1800s, early 1900s, because of the fact the Twitchell building was built approximately 1890. These tunnels were originally installed for transporting patients in inclement weather, and also for the infrastructure of the facilities. All the buildings on this campus in that time period, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, were heated by steam. So the steam mains go through the tunnels.
Lover's Lane, there's several locations actually, but the most famous is the ones where they actually marked it up on the wall.
The Lover's Lane writing on the heater unit located in that area was actually put on there approximately 6 years ago.
It was a place where everything from young kitchen workers to patients would find a little cubby hole in the tunnel area, a side room, and have relations. Everything from a kiss to, well, you can use your imagination.
There's numerous legends of the tunnels, and obviously this was a psychiatric facility. Female patients were housed on the south side, male patients were housed on the north side. Obviously the reason behind that is so they could be treated better and segregated. But yes, they would have rendezvous in the basement areas. One of the areas that seems to be a favorite is what we call Lover's Lane. Honestly, I don't believe Lover's Lane was the ideal spot for such a interaction. The kitchen facility for the campus was located right in that area. Tremendous traffic of personnel walking back and forth. So somebody probably started that rumor years ago, and it just continued to grow.
The legends work the same path as the other things we've mentioned. It starts out with just one little incident taking place, then it getting passed around through staff or whoever was involved in it, and from generation to generation passing it on, and eventually it reaches the level of like anything, the Titanic, you know, the ship sunk. I mean, that's all that happened, but it got glamorized to the point where it is today, and it's the same way with the tunnels.
Actually, the tunnels weren't really used as fallout shelters, but the basements of the Kents and the Peasley Annex were fallout shelters. These are actually basement spaces as in a residence, you know, the section below. The tunnels, I don't think ever were officially designated fallout shelters. We still have some Cold War supplies stored down in the Peasley basement. There are numerous tunnels from building to building on the campus. We have one from the main building to Twitchell. Also, we have one that exits the south side of the main building. And on the south side of the campus, it enters the majority of those buildings, including Thayer, Annex, Bancroft, Doloff, M&S.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, obviously this is New England. We can have some very severe cold winters. Some of the patients here were very fragile. And to get them to the medical facilities located in other buildings, it was much easier and safer for the patients to bring them down through the tunnel system, which is, you know, was well maintained, and it still is.
Do you know if the tunnels were constructed before the buildings or after?
The tunnel system was put in place after the buildings were constructed. The main building was built in 1842 and was the sole building on the campus, except for farm structures, horse sheds, and so forth. As the buildings grew, they continued to add on to the main building. They had wings added to the back, and then as the desire for separate buildings went into place, the tunnel systems were built.
How old is the oldest tunnel, roughly?
That's difficult to answer. There are tunnels in the rear of the main building, and they can date back to the mid-1800s. These tunnels were designed to carry water lines and so forth. They are no longer in use as far as people traffic. They were really designed just for utilities. Steam, high pressure steam and return lines, and domestic water.
My personal boogeyman story in the tunnels is occasionally when maintenance is working on equipment, sometimes there'll be these big covers to heating vents or whatever, and they'll put them down and it'll come back to their work later. And because of the lighting down there and the way shapes can move because of the lighting and the pipes and all that goes on down there, you would be walking the tunnels and say there's a light illuminating that piece of equipment that wasn't there before. Many times it would look silhouette like there was a man standing there, and you're like around the corner and you see this shadow, and a lot of people have seen their own versions of shadow people, and you like approach it very cautious because it looks like a person standing there, and then you get around the corner and you feel like a complete fool because it's just a cover to a heating vent or something of that nature that could make that kind of silhouette. So over the years, I'm sure a lot of the legend stories generated from the fact that you're coming around a corner and you see a shadow, and a lot of people wouldn't explore it. They would say, okay, somebody's there, I'm turning around, and a legend is born.
Need more light.